I want to be a voice to say, don't allow a label that somebody says about you. It could be a family member, it could be a coworker, it could be a stranger, it could be whatever. Don't accept somebody saying something about you that you don't believe is true. You don't have to accept that.
I'm learning how to trust myself enough to process what my first mind is telling me.
Yeah.
See, the half me that has been showing up in my life only showed up based on not my full instincts, because I didn't trust it.
A lot of times when you're progressing, you're so busy trying to progress, you don't realize you have progressed.
Yeah.
You shock yourself sometimes.
Right.
Like, I was very surprised, looking at my numbers and looking at the different things I need to look at. And then when I saw, because I have to keep a little chart, and I was like, wow, this is where I was a couple of weeks ago, and this is where I am
wait a minute,
today.
but that's because I'm like, you can't eat that.
Hey, it's
now.
rough. It's rough, y'all, in these streets. These streets rough. They're brutal.
They ain't that rough. They got you. You still here, boo.
Listen,
high five on it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go with on it. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all saw that half behind high
your
five.
boy eating out the air fryer. You know what I'm saying? Almond flour. You know what I'm saying? But I'm making a joke of it. I want to be here, and I tell my wife, and she said, "Oh, why you keep saying that?" She literally saved my life.
So if you find yourself only not being able to find the good in you, then write down the negative label, right? Write it down. And then maybe what you should do is on the other side of it. So if you have like two columns, maybe, or an arrow or an equal sign or whatever. If you say, we're gonna be real simple with it. If you say something like bad, you put an arrow, good. So every label that you even have set for yourself, you begin to change. You find a good label, the opposite of that, and then you focus on eliminating that bad column, and you focus on becoming the good column.
You said you realized from that trauma of real estate collapsing, because we were both in it full time, you were stuck.
Yes.
Most people do not know how to get unstuck.
Ain't that the truth?
So that's why years later, you're still feeling like you're stuck.
Yes.
Or not you at the moment, but whoever.
Yes.
And how to get unstuck is one rule and one rule only.
And what's that?
Acknowledging that you're stuck.
Wow.
See, that's what happens. We're stuck in a place and we're like, oh, I ain't gonna say that. I'm not gonna put that in the universe. But your actions show you're stuck. Your mouth doesn't have to say anything.
Wow.
Your actions show that you are absolutely stuck. When you're saying that, when we ride through a neighborhood and we're thinking about a possibility of building or buying a house in this neighborhood, you're like, oh, that front door remind me of my house and such and such.
Yeah.
Oh, that yard was this and that. What I call that, right house, wrong neighborhood.
Discipline is greater than motivation.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like you could, motivate, and I've learned that motivation is more of an emotional thing. Discipline is more of a factual thing. When you're disciplined, it doesn't matter how you're feeling. You know that you got to do it. And this is not something that I'm just learning. This is something I've known and ironically have practiced in other areas of my life, but haven't practiced it in this area. So getting out of your own way for whoever it is, it might mean, you need to, if you want to finish school, get up and go and finish school. Yeah. Have enough, forget how you feeling right now. It doesn't matter what's going on right. None of that matters.
So if you're not an open person, I am telling you, it will set you free. And I'm going to give you an example. I spoke to a family member the other day that I hadn't talked to in a while. And just because life just put us in different directions. And I wanted to tell this person how I felt about them. I didn't necessarily know that I felt that way, but I wanted to communicate to them, this is exactly how I feel about you. Yes. And this is not typically our relationship. And when I kind of felt like I was kind of doing it for them, because I felt like, something ain't right, the vibe ain't right, let me reach out. And in my mind, I was doing it for that person. But once I said what I said, and they received it the way they received it, it set me free. I was the person that wasn't being open. I was the person that wasn't moving forward in what I needed to move forward in. So I learned in that moment, it ain't even about forgiveness. Openness is for you.
I never thought about changing my health.
Yeah.
We think about progressing in relationships, progressing in our careers, progressing in, whatever it is, that progressing in just ourselves. But for me, I don't know about, and some people, health is at the forefront of everything that they do. But for me, it just was not a thing once I started having children. And so now, though, I'm not okay with where I am.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with being on medication for the rest of my life. I'm not okay with any of that. So the thing that I'm understanding is that I have to get up so that I can progress. I can't just continue to sit here. I have to put actions behind it if I want to see that change take place. And one of the greatest things that I have had to learn is to get out of my own way.
Wow. I don't need to suppress what I'm feeling or suppress what I'm supposed to be. Like Karyn talked about, showing up as her authentic self like a week ago.
Yes.
And that folds right into this conversation right here.
And it has been a practice. So let me be very clear that it's not something like, oh, I just woke up one day and thought that and then it just happened. So, there was an event that happened a couple of weeks ago. Not an event, but something that was really tragic in my family. And it really made me it really made me it just like something clicked in me.
Yeah.
And then I realized like I felt like there was a part of myself that I hadn't felt and been familiar with in a long time. And like she came back almost. I don't even know how to really explain it. But it was like I felt like for the past, I would at least say 10 years, I've been living half of myself.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me, I'm very bold, I like to have fun, but I've been hiding that and I don't know why. And so I'm not saying that I just had this revelation and I became this new person all in one day. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying though, that it's a consciousness in me every day that I have to show up whole.
But I've said before in previous videos, the way I feel about track athletes, Olympic athletes, how they train for those 4 years for the summer games or those 2 years for the winter games, and the discipline they have. And if you ever think about a track runner, they pace themselves, whether even if it's a sprint or it's a long distance, they start out at a certain speed and they finish strong. They run all the way through and they finish what they start.
Right.
Whether they come in first place or eighth place, they give it everything they have, everything they train for. They give it all, and that's what my challenge is to myself.
Right.
And I hope that would motivate other people. You have to finish what you start. You have to see it through.
Anybody else might let you down. You were there to support yourself.
That's true.
So in some situations, if I'm there, I got your back.
Right.
If you're there with me, you have my back.
Right.
But let's say if I was there by myself, what am I going to do? Am I going to go hide? Am I going to show up? So you have to create a safe space for yourself. And that means in a safe space, you got to have like your little bag of tools.
Wow.
So that means that, hey,
you got to speak on that.
You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, hey, this situation is too overwhelming for me. Let me retreat to the bathroom for a second and gather my thoughts.
Right.
Because sometimes we can walk into situations and encounter things that make you have panic attacks.
Yes.
It can embolden you. It can happen. You don't know till you're in that moment.